Corridor Capanu? Corridor, I mean, he's got a funnier name. But Capanu, 20 aggression. But Corridor, look at the mentals. But he is injury prone. But Capanu, he's not even a defensive midfielder. I'll tell you now, I'm going to pick one of these and end up buying them. Which one it's going to be, I don't have a Scooby-Doo. Let's get into today's episode, shall we? How's it going, folks? And welcome back. It's episode number 33 of Park 2 Primera. Today, we kick off season number 5. This is our second season in La Liga, and after a superb year last year, we find ourselves in the Champions League this season, which is definitely going to be a challenge, a lot of football to juggle, with not the biggest of squads. Of course, going into this season, we had a little bit of money to spend, around £11 million. I have spent just about every penny of it, albeit not on a huge amount of players. Over the last 2 episodes, we've had 2 transfer specials, and whilst there are a few dealings still going on, I have just about concluded things. And well, as you saw by the intro, a few different players, wasn't sure which to go for. Who did I go for? It's a bit of a trick question. I've gotten for them both. Capanu joins us as, I think, the better player longer term to play defensive midfielder. But despite his injury proneness, despite his inconsistency, I have also decided to pick up Ellis Corridor. Now, they weren't cheap. In the end, I've spent £14.25 million on 2 potential defensive midfielders. That was most of my budget. But ultimately, it was the area of the team that I felt like needed the most TLC. And going into this season, I'm feeling rather prepared now. But they weren't the only dealings we did, so let's talk about all of the transfers that have happened going into this season. Of course, if you saw the transfer special, you're already aware, but the likes of Thierry Correa joined us a couple of episodes ago now to play as a versatile fullback. We have Puado, who joined us from Manchester United. A little bit of a squad depth option at striker, super versatile in the attacking third, which is always nice. Bruno Trigo was our first signing of the transfer special at 18 years old. He looks like one for the future. Don't think he'll feature too much in the first team this year, but longer term, I've got very high hopes for him. And of course, we also signed another young Portuguese player in Miguel Salgado, who is a super good centre-back, probably the 4th best in the team, dare I say. I'm a pretty big fan of him. Let's put it that way. But those were the early dealings done, and well, these are the dealings done since you were last here. Ellis Corridor, of course, joining us, as you can see here, for £8 million. I think he's one of the more expensive players that we've ever signed. Certainly the most expensive of this season. Good player. As I said, he is injury-prone, he is inconsistent. I'm obviously hoping that he's going to be able to put those to the back of his mind and perform for us this year. The young Colombian comes in. Of course, we have Valles, a Colombian at centre-back. In terms of his career for Boca, he had a very, very good start to this season. 7.53 rating for them. Whether or not he's going to be able to do that in La Liga, I guess that's going to be the real test. The finances on this deal were $5 million up front and then $3 million over a few years. Worth noting, he hasn't lost his inconsistency. He's not lost his injury proneness. Those things don't just vanish. It's just a case of that for whatever reason in Football Manager, scouts don't share their knowledge of a player with coaches once a player joins the club. So when you have a player like Corridor, there's like this awkward few-week period where you're waiting for the coaches to catch up and discover the same things the scouts have already discovered for you before you sign them. But anyway, he was one of the players we brought in. There were a couple of players that we didn't see last time, though, who we ended up picking up. The first is Koke Vegas. Firstly, fantastic name. Secondly, fantastic backup goalkeeper, dare I say. The backup goalkeeping position was an area that I wanted to look at and try and solve. In the end, we brought in this man who I'd kind of describe as the baby Machado. Of course, Machado is the first choice goalkeeper. That there is no denying. Last year, we had Subasic as our backup goalkeeper. He was okay. He didn't play too much. He was 39 years old. By comparison, Koke Vegas, he's only 28. We signed him for a measly 155k. Really good bargain signing from Leganes, who, of course, were relegated. Hopefully, if he is called upon, he's going to be able to do the business for us. And, well, a couple of other players that we signed. Thiago Araujo comes in as a backup left-back option. Of course, we lost Tony Herrero previously. I needed a man to solve that position kind of the second choice left back. And whilst he's not the most incredible player defensively, in terms of as an option on the bench, he can play a whole host of positions. And in terms of as a backup left back, physically, he's really, really good. He's got okay mentals with really good determination. Of course, I am hoping that the likes of his 8 marking, 10 tackling, and 10 positioning aren't going to come under too much scrutiny. Otherwise, we could be in a little bit of trouble. And well, as you can see here, I did end up signing Stefan Capanu. We talked about this guy last time quite extensively. Basically, he's the perfect player to play a ball-winning midfielder. He just doesn't know that he's a ball-winning midfielder yet. So the plan is to train him here, get him all the knowledge, strength and integrity that he could possibly need to play this position. I mean, he's already got 16 strength. And really, I'm hoping that he, longer term, is going to do the business with Corridor. You know, they're 2 players, both only 18 years old. That is really important to remember. I'm hoping that between the 2 of them, one of them is going to develop into a top-quality Champions League defensive midfielder and kind of just solve that position for the foreseeable future. Now, going into this season, I did say I wanted a bit more strength and depth in the wide attacking areas. In the end, there just wasn't the options out there, nor the finances out there to go and make that happen. I know it's easy to sit here and say, Jack, you're in the Champions League, you have loads of money. The board weren't willing to give me the money that we have in the bank to spend on players, sadly, this year. Of course, our wage spend has climbed a little bit this year. We're now spending £358,000 with us going into the Champions League. There's that expectation from the players that we signed that they are going to get paid a little more money. But with 35 million in the bank, but only 2.5 million in the transfer budget, we have nearly spent all our money. And as a result, in the wide attacking areas, I'm looking at the likes of Martinez and Avramides as our options there. Of course, Hardy last year did a really good job in the wide attacking areas. I think in the last 7 games of the season, he got 5 goals and 3 assists. So that was a crazy, crazy return. Of course, I'm hoping that if one of our starters doesn't perform, he's going to come in and do the business. Avramides, of course, we're training him to play out on the left as an inside forward, cutting in on his stronger right foot. If you aren't aware, we have kind of flipped the formation this year, with the exception, actually, of the wing-backs, where Huardro is still going to play as a wing-back on attack, which I know for a winger might seem counterintuitive, but with the way Football Manager works this year, it actually works kind of well. They kind of double up on the full-back and cause them all kinds of issues on the overlap, and the winger usually does have the intelligence to float inside just a little bit. And while looking at our start to the season in terms of the strength of fixtures, you can see here we are taking on Valencia today. We then do have Athletic Club in the not-so-distant future. Of course, we are eagerly anticipating some Champions League games to be kind of scheduled in here. I'm not sure when the Champions League group stage draw is, unless it's already happened and I've not been told about it. I can tell you now, it hasn't. There's still the playoffs going on. But of course, we just go in at the group stage. So we're just going to sit twiddling our thumbs, eagerly waiting. It's going to be a tough Champions League campaign because, of course, we're going to go into this unseeded. I think it's really this year, from a continental perspective, going to be a case of learning. You can see here the board expectation is a top half finish in La Liga. The media prediction is 10th. So that's somewhat in line. I mean, 10th place would be a mid-table finish, I suppose. So the board have got pretty lofty goals this year. Does leave me a little bit wary that if we were to underperform, if the extra fixtures of the Champions League were to catch up with our squad, we could be in with some issues. But when I look across the squad as a whole, it's not a small squad by any means. We have got Resende, who's very likely to go back on loan now. I did that purely from a squad management perspective. But we've got here about a squad of 27 players. That said, there's a few players like Trigo who are kind of unlikely to play for us on the regular. So whilst it's a big squad, there are a couple of youngsters who we have here who are either here for the sake of making up homegrown quotas, sorry, Calderon, or in the case of Trigo, is available for the youth team, is very unlikely to play with the first team. But at the same time, if I'd make him kind of move down a squad, he gets unhappy and cries. So this is how I have to manage their unhappiness. Now, I've just realised I didn't do a single cut there. I fell into old habits. Editing Jack, I'm sorry. I couldn't stop myself talking. I got in my flow. You can see here just a few little updates from off the pitch. The training facilities have been completed. Their upgrades are done. The youth facilities are still very much in progress. And on the whole, the Champions League expectations to reach the playoffs. Someone should tell the board that we've actually made the group stage automatically so they know that. Of course, we are in the process of getting the new stadium sorted. So that is very, very exciting news. All in all, I mean, when you look at the current kind of predictions, it's not the highest goals, but I think this is going to be a slightly more challenging year than last year. The extra matches are definitely going to cause issues. And whilst we've got a deep squad with some good potential, I guess there's some question marks over the potential that we have to perform on our day on the regular. Because last year we were the beneficiaries of the fact that other teams in and around us slipped up a lot. The points total that got us Champions League football would not have got you Champions League football in previous seasons. So as a result, I have got to be a little wary of that. If we just look at the pre-season predictions, you can see here Barcelona, who won the league last year, are only third favourites to retain their title. Of course, we've got that lovely CL next to our name, which is always a good thing to see. It's also worth noting Deportivo have been promoted back to La Liga in this save game, which is really cool to see because, of course, they started way back when with us down in the lower leagues. But in a similar pattern to ourselves, they've got back-to-back promotions, including an unlikely promotion last year from La Liga 2 via the playoffs. I feel odd seeing them following our footsteps in a bizarre little way. The AI is doing a similar job to me, it would seem. You can see here, in terms of key players, our players are a little far down this list. And the two key players for us are Avramidez, who last year was superb. I'm hoping that this year, playing him out on the wide kind of area as an inside forward, he's going to blossom into a beautiful flower. The other player, somewhat unsurprisingly, is Pablo Torre, who, of course, he's been here since the beginning. We've got him on loan for another year on top of this season. If you missed that during the transfer specials, we renewed his loan with Bayern. So he is here for the long haul. And, all in all, I feel very, very good about the business that we've done. It was a tough transfer window. Unfortunately, going into today's game, we have got a few injuries to deal with. So as a result, some shuffling is going to be needed. Jordan Ferry is going to come in for Blanco. Of course, Ferry, only 1 year left on his current deal. Came in really just to be a bit of an experienced head. Last year, he chipped in with some good performances, but perhaps his age is catching up with him now. At the same time, perfectionist personality. We're going to utilise him for as long as we can. He gets the nod today. Elsewhere, Valles here, you can see, has picked up an injury. The interesting thing here is, I could play Capanu at centre-back, which might seem like a little bit of a weird one, but it's definitely a position he can play. He's not the slowest player, and whilst I am training him longer term to be playing as a kind of ball-winning midfielder, because of that teamwork, because of that work rate, just two aspects that are top draw in his game that aren't used at centre-back, I think today I'm going to give him his debut at centre-back. I thought about bringing in Basia, but to be honest, when you compare him and Capanu, I don't say there's not much of a contest, but I just like Kapanu's mentals and his physicals. And at 18 years old, whilst I do see his long-term future being kind of Corridor's compatriot, competing for the defensive midfielder position, regular game time is going to be needed to help him develop. So let's give him the nod today, and then we'll just shuffle the players on the bench just a little bit. We'll bring in Miguel Salgado, I think, for Valles, and Blanco will take off for Pooch. Worth noting, Bicho, of course, he broke his leg last year. He's still not really fit enough to play. I'll be honest, he's declined so massively as a player, I am potentially looking to ship him on, despite all the heroics he's done for us over the years. I mean, his heroics last year didn't really exist, but the previous years he was good for us. I just fear that with a 4-month leg break injury, he's never really going to be the same again. But anyway, let's get into today's game. Hopefully we're going to have a good little performance here. Going into this season, playing a very similar brand of football to last season. It's a kind of brand of football that served us well. This season, in terms of my personal expectations, I would like to see us make it to the Europa League in terms of by finishing in top 3 in the Champions League group. I think realistically, until we know what group we've been drawn in, it's dangerous to make any grand plans or expectations for what to expect come the Champions League. But for me personally, if we could get at least 3rd and just get to the knockouts of any kind of European football, that would be a small win in itself. And then in terms of with the league, I would love to get European football of some kind this year. I think top 4 is going to be very difficult. We were the beneficiaries of everyone else slipping up. But you know what? A game like this at home against Valencia, one of the teams who we were kind of dicing it out with at the end of last season, this could be a pretty good way to set the mark for this year. And while I was expecting to go away for a moment and come back when a highlight began, but right on cue, a highlight's begun and Corridor is there. Martinez, oh my word. I mean, Jonathan Martinez, winger on attack there. In fact, no, winger on support there. That was kind of what I was talking about earlier with Huadro kind of bringing it forward as the wing back on attack, and yet the winger will just go inside quite a lot. Nice build-up play here, though. Martinez starts the play off by laying it off, and then Ferry's pass here is very, very tasty, if I might say so myself. 1-0 inside the first 10 minutes. Not a bad start to the season. Eduardo bringing the ball forward, gives it to Martinez, who's already got 1 goal. He's confident now. Glaze off to Avramidez. Oh, it almost breaks the way of Mojica. We're going to VAR for a potential penalty, though. Avramidez, by the way, still doesn't really know how to play as a left attacking mid, but we're just going to plonk him there and hope that through game time he's able to learn it. Penalty is going to be awarded by VAR here. I assume it's going to be Mojica over it. It is indeed. Can he open up his account for the season? Of course he can. He slots it away. And, well, that was a very, very confident penalty in the end. 2-0 up inside the first 25 minutes against a team who are one of the teams tipped for European football this year. Doesn't get much sweeter than this to start the season. Couple of minutes to half-time here. Not a lot happened in this first half. We've had the highlights for the goal. We've been clinical with them. Besides that, you can see here, it's been a fairly even game. We've edged out possession. We've had slightly better pass completion. At the same time, though, neither team creating significantly more than one another. I feel like the XG is kind of inflated by the penalties. But nevertheless, we are 2 goals up at half-time. Avramidez, considering he doesn't really know what he's doing on the left-hand side, he looked pretty competent there. He's also picked up that position surprisingly quickly. He had no knowledge of left attacking mid at the end of the season. We updated him to play there kind of in May. And over the summer, he's gone away. He's read the How to Play Left Attacking Mid guidebook. And he's come back with an orange ability in that position, which, well, I'm hoping is going to serve us well. As the ball is lumped forward to Machado. He's going to distribute it to Onana. Don't do it. Look, my aim for this season, new season resolution, not to make any jokes with Onana's name. I won't succeed in that. As Avramidez's glancing header goes just wide of the far post. This second half, though, bursting into life. We've had one highlight. We're about to have a second highlight inside the first 4 minutes. This time it's Valencia bringing it forward. Gonzalo Guedes inside to Maxi Gomez, who tries to hold it up, but Corridor comes lunging in with a tackle. Capanu on a booking does scare me. He does have 20 aggression. I don't know what kind of dirtiness he has yet. It's worth noting then, Football Manager, having more aggression doesn't just make them a working red card machine. I mean, if you watch Park to Prem last year, you'll know about Dylan Turnbull, the striker we had with 20 aggression. 20 aggression just makes players more likely to go in for challenges. But if they're good at tackling, if they've got good decisions, they can use their aggression well. And as I explain all of that, he goes and gets a second yellow card. So, as I said, aggression doesn't mean a player's dirty. It doesn't mean a player's a walking red card. But if he has got a high dirtiness attribute, it could be a problem. How much did I spend on him? So in an attempt to see out this game, we're going to go to something quite defensive, I think, in terms of initial shape. I didn't want to leave 2 men up top. I am now sat nervous about the fact we did have 4 other players on yellow cards. I've already subbed off Martinez because despite his goal, he's young, he's inexperienced, he's kind of likely to lose his head. I'm going to take off Avramidez and bring in Atakovic. We'll play him as a deep lying forward alongside Mojica. I might also just take off Ferry, who's on a booking, because frankly, it's just a little bit scary. You know what? Miguel Salgado, I didn't really sign you to play any kind of defensive midfielder role in the team. I signed you very much as a centre-back. But in a game like this one, I feel like it's just necessary for us to park the bus a little bit. We've got a 2-goal cushion. We've got 40 minutes to try and see out. And you know what? Just slow down the tempo of the game and start time wasting. The dark arts need to commence. And well, I'm hoping that sending off isn't going to cost us. Capanu, it wasn't meant to be like this. This is not the debut that you were meant to have, my friend. I mean, Machado, you're going to have to do a fair bit for us now, mate. Saves like that could be pretty critical. And you know what? It's time to go shouty. They are getting more attacking in shape, which is scary. I have also, I realise, made all my subs very early on here. So with 20 minutes left, I mean, I'm happy if there's no highlights. Their manager is shuffling things around. We seem to be holding our own thus far. And in fact, we're still creating opportunities. I don't know what's happening here. Their manager's just freaking out. He's gone to a free at the back. The time continues to tick away. Maybe Capanu just wanted me to play more defensively. and getting sent off was his way of doing that. What a performance this is, though. You can see Basia got a 7.1 after he came on. Onana got a 7.4 and was one of the best performers, which is great to see. Machado, 7.3 to start the year. And, well, after a very good start to the game, despite a sending off, we managed to ride out a bit of a storm. A few chances against us, not a whole lot, really. And, well, shut out a very, very mean Valencia team as Capanu gets sent off. I mean, shall we just have a sweepstakes now? How many red cards will he get this season? What possessed? Why did I think on a yellow card it was worth doing? I mean, as I said, I remain adamant that aggression doesn't mean a player will get sent off a lot, which I realise you're going to point at this video and go, this disproves it. Look, I mean, you can mouse over aggression here. It doesn't reflect a player's dirtiness. Dirtiness is a different attribute, but it is their willingness to get stuck in, which, it's, as you can see there, perhaps at the expense. And the reason it's perhaps is because if a player has stuff like good decisions, good tackling, isn't dirty, if they don't have high dirtiness, the hidden attribute, that they can be a good aggressive player. I'm really worried now that Capanu's a bad aggressive player, which would be an absolute, I mean, considering how much I spent, it would be a concern. I mean, prior to this game, he never had a senior red card, so make of that what you will. But anyway, guys, that is going to wrap up everything from me today. Let me know what you made of our transfer business. What is going on with Stefan? Is he going to just murder people all season? If you've got a prediction for a red card total, leave it down in the comments. If you have enjoyed today's video, do drop a like on it. I'll see you again very, very soon. Take care, and until next time, it is me, Jack, and I'll talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.